So last time we looked at a 1080p 240Hz FreeSync monitor from Nexius. The question that I seen the most in the comments was 27 inches is kind of weird for a 1080p monitor. So maybe we should look at a high refresh rate 1440p monitor. How about the ViewSonic XG2760 1440p 165Hz G-Sync monitor? Yeah, I thought so. The monitor sweet spot. It all depends on how you look at it. So what kind of gamer are you? Fast and furious? Low and slow? Fancy and classy? Well, monitors these days seem to come in all shapes and sizes. Not to mention many different resolutions, refresh rates, and panel types. Gaming monitors seem to be blended in as well, causing more confusion to the already confusing market. So with that said, from consensus, it seems like most of us agree that 4K high refresh rate gaming really isn't here unless you have two RTX 2080 Ti's in SLI to drive a monitor of such stature to high enough refresh rates, not to mention the dent in your wallet from the $4,500 spent. What if I told you that the sweet spot was a high refresh 1440p monitor with a single GPU, and you only had to spend $1,100? Sounds like a hell of a lot of savings, you ask me. Think about it. Unless you have the graphics horsepower to drive a 4K high refresh rate monitor, you overpaid for something you'll never use. So when ViewSonic wanted to send me over the XG2760 1440p 165Hz G-Sync monitor for me to look at, well, I couldn't say no. For a long time, I had grown accustomed to having a 1440p monitor. The year was 2013, when Korean 1440p panels were the thing to get. I got one, well, two actually. Let's just say that my daughter is to blame for the first one's death. The model was the QNX QX2710, and it overclocked to 120Hz with reduced timings. There was only one input, which was a single DVI-D, flushing future compatibility down the drain. So in today's DisplayPort world we live in now, I had to replace it due to my GPU upgrading. What I'm hoping for is to bring back some 1440p memories that I once had playing Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4, and Call of Duty. Those were the games I played on that panel. Ah, the memories. Okay, the ViewSonic XG2760, 1440p, 165Hz, G-Sync, at 27 inches. Now the Nexius 240Hz 1080p monitor that I just looked at was a 27-inch panel with a PPI or pixels per inch of about 81.59. Ideally at 1080p has a better PPI at 24 inches due to a smaller panel being 91.79 PPI. The ViewSonic XG2760 has a PPI of 108.79. That's about 25% more pixels per inch than other 1080p 27-inch monitors. However, that PPI comes at a price of lower refresh rate. Now, don't take this the wrong way. 165Hz is plenty fast, and honestly really fast enough for 99% of gamers out there, especially with the 1 millisecond response time. Personally, I prefer the extra real estate that a 1440p monitor provides. Holding up this green accented monitor is a plastic stand that does a decent job of holding up the 27-inch monitor. If you want to mount it on a monitor arm, you can. It's VISA mount compatible. Having a headphone hanger on the backside is also a nice touch, but I can't see reaching around to get your headset all the time. All the other likely features like tilt, swivel, and height adjust are all also present. The bezel is thin-ish, measuring in at a ½ inch or 13 millimeters, with green accents in the bottom and top centers, as well as the small ViewSonic logo on the center bottom. The OSD buttons on the bottom right corner, backside arranging from small to larger as you move up, having a nice tactile bump for feedback. Speaking of the OSD, the menu layout is well thought out, although I would have liked a directional joystick due to the menu options changing as you move throughout the OSD. Moving along, there are two USB 2.0 ports on the right hand side. Moving to the rear I/O, there is one display port, one HDMI, 2-port USB 3.0 hub, audio headphone jack, and a power input. So I thought I would bust out some blur buster tests. First up is the ever so common compare frame rate test. 165 FPS, 83 FPS, 41 FPS are represented here. Moving on, we have the ever so popular frame skipping test, which the XG2760 performs really good at, with only one box trailing the lead box. Next up is the animation timing deviation, which tests response time. Although the majority of frames are within the 1 millisecond spec, some frames get up to the 6 millisecond mark. Really nothing to worry about, just something to note. Also, being overclocked.net, I tried overclocking the XG2760 even further than the 165 it was rated for. I got nothing, not a zilch. Keep in mind that the XG2760 ships at the 144Hz enabled right out of the box. You must go in the OSD and enable the 165Hz option under the overclocking section. It looks like ViewSonic has gotten just about every Hertz it was capable of out of this panel. So circling back, is a high refresh rate 1440p panel the sweet spot? Well, it really depends on the best case use. For gaming, it depends on what is more important to you. Myself, I do better with higher refresh rates than more resolution. I could tell right away that I was perceived better matches when I played on the XG2760 as opposed to my ultra-wide Acer ED347CKR 3440 by 1440p at 100 Hz. For productivity, my ultra-wide trumps the XG2760 for image quality due to the TN panel in the XG2760 versus the VA panel in the ED347CKR. Plus, having the extra real estate of 3440 versus 2560 is also nice as well for my Adobe Premiere timeline. So in closing, the XG2760 was and is a great gaming monitor first. It does a lot of things right. 1440p at 165 Hz, G-Sync, although with recent news you can run a FreeSync display on an NVIDIA GPU. We'll discuss that in a future video though. But the XG2760 isn't perfect. It is, after all, around $600 US with the G-Sync tax in mind. Its panel is a TN, and very well it could have been an IPS or a VA panel. With that, the XG2760 gets a solid 4 out of 5 flames. Alright guys, I'm gonna go. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share for more future content. Blue Devil, out.